Thanks everyone for coming out this Saturday night in Salt Lake City. Everything is inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder and chair of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Om Agana Timanandasya Gana Gana Salakya Chaksurin Miritam Yana Tashmai Sukirve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamyo Dadati Swaparantikam Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamani Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachari Yavishes Sanyapari Praskita Devasatari Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Our message today is pick up your sword. Someone's already convinced. Would you agree with me that it's easy to just let life happen to us when we've been through enough disappointments, when we've had people come against us? We tried, but we couldn't break the addiction. We tried, but we couldn't get into management. We tried, but we couldn't open that temple in our town. Over time, that can wear us down to where we give up the fight, to where we lose our passion. However, I'm here tonight to tell you that Krishna did not make you passive, just taking whatever comes your way, bowing down to circumstances. We're in a fight. There are forces that are trying to keep you from your destiny. 42nd verse, 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Tasmad agana sambutim richtam gyanasyanatmana chidvainam samsyogyam atishta bharata. Krishna says to Arjuna, therefore the lethargy which has arisen in your heart out of disappointment should be slashed by the sword of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Arjuna, stand and fight. Krishna's words are the sword of the Spirit. When you have His promises coming out of your mouth, you're swinging your sword. And when you're swinging your sword, Krishna's going to show up and fight on your behalf. When you swing, you declare His promises. Angels go to work. Forces of darkness are pushed back. Negative situations turn around. Our question today is, are you swinging your sword? Because it's you who have to initiate Krishna's power in your life. You can't just sit back and say, well, I hope I pray that I'll get well. Maybe my child will get back on course. Perhaps this dream will come to pass. Hoping is good, but it's not enough. You're in a battle with Maya, who's trying to keep you from your purpose. You can't fight Maya with physical weapons. You have to use the sword of the Spirit, which is Krishna's words coming out of your mouth. That is your most powerful weapon. Prabhupada says, the contact of the spiritual spark with material elements creates a knot which must be cut if one wants to be liberated from the actions and reactions of fruitive work. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 2nd chapter, 15th verse. Yad anudashina yukta karma glanti nibandhanam chindanti kovarastasya kona kurya kataratam. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work or karma by praising the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The question is then asked, who is so unfortunate that they cannot recite His uplifting messages? As long as you're passive, you're going to be stuck. I can't believe this happened to me. I never get any good breaks. I'll probably never get well. This pandemic will go on forever. The problem is that your sword is in its sheath, where it's not doing you any good. You have to unsheath your sword. Get it out. Krishna, thank you that no weapon formed against me will prosper. Thank you that you being for me is more than the whole world being against me. You know what you just did? You have swung your sword. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Queen Kunti says to Lord Krishna, Vishan Mahagne Purushara Darshanat, Asad Sabaya Vanabasha Krichata, Mridhe Neka Maharata Shtato, Doni Ashratas Chashma, Hara Virakshita. My dear Lord, you protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly of the Kurus, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. Prabhupada says here, in connection with this prayer of Queen Kunti's, the list of dangerous encounters is submitted herein. Kunti Dev and her sons were put into one difficulty after another for years and years and years together. They were put into trouble by Duryodhana and his party. Each and every time the sons of Kunti were saved by the Lord. Kunti's declaring to anybody who wants to hear, once my son Bhishma was administered poison in a cake. He came out with the strength of 10,000 elephants. What is that? That's Kunti swinging her sword. Once, myself and my sons were put into a house made of shellac and set afire. We had warning from Vidura and made a tunnel to escape. Kunti swinging her sword. Once my daughter-in-law Draupadi was dragged out and attempts were made to insult her by stripping her naked in the vicious assembly of the Kurus. Lord, you saved Draupadi by supplying an immeasurable length of cloth. Kunti swinging her sword. She goes on. Similarly, when we were exiled in the forest, Bhima had to fight with the man-eater demon Hidimbi Rakshasi, but you, Lord, saved him. Kunti swinging her sword. She's not finished yet. After all these tribulations, there was the great battle of Kurukshetra, and my son Arjuna had to face such great lethal generals as Drona, Bhishma, and Karna. By the grace of the Lord, he defeated them all. That's Kunti continuing to swing her sword. And last, when everything was done away with, Kunti says, there was the Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama to kill the child Parikshit within the womb of Uttara. And so the Lord saved the only surviving descendant of the Kurus. That's Kunti swinging her sword. Our question tonight is, when are you going to start swinging your sword? Reciting the instances that Krishna helped you in the past. If you do that, Krishna will continue to bless you, continue to take you where you could not go on your own. But we have to be like Kunti. We have to activate his power, activate the miracle, activate the breakthrough. Well, Charu, I've been doing this, but nothing happened. Keep doing it. Things are happening in the unseen realm. Krishna is working. You may not see it, but things are changing in your favor. Consistency is the key. Keep swinging that sword. Keep declaring that victory. Keep praising the Lord. I wonder if tonight there are opportunities that we're missing out on. Healing, freedom, abundance that we're missing out on simply because we're not swinging our sword. What's holding you back? Are there areas in which you become complacent, just accepting it, or maybe waiting on Krishna to do something when in fact Krishna's waiting on you? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Get your sword out. Start believing again. Start expecting his favor. Start declaring what he says about you. The scriptures say, let the weak say, I'm strong. Let the poor say, I am well off. Don't just sit around in weakness. Don't just talk about how life is not fair. I'll probably always struggle. You know what? Talking defeat brings more defeat. Talking about the weakness will keep you weak. Krishna has given you a sword that can break the powers that are holding you back. A sword that can unleash your dreams, unlock your potential, and thrust you to a whole new level. Now, take it out of its sheath and start swinging it. I am blessed. I'm prosperous. I'm healthy. I'm eternal. I'm part and parcel of the Lord. I'm redeemed. I'm forgiven. I'm favored. I'm more than a conqueror. Keep swinging your sword like that, and I'll tell you, you're going to see Krishna do things that you couldn't do. Favor, breakthroughs, new levels of your destiny. Kunti goes on bragging about the Lord. She doesn't care if the whole world is lined up against her and her sons. She knows that herself and Krishna are a majority. Vipada santu tashashat tata tata jagat guru bhavato darshanam syat aparnar bhavadarshanam. She thumbs her nose at critics, at enemies, at betrayers, at conspirators, and she says, you know what? I wish all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you, Lord Krishna, again and again. For seeing you means we are no longer seeing repeated birth and death. Prabhupada says, if there is some calamity, there is no other alternative than to take up the sword of the Lord's holy names. Constantly glorifying the heroic deeds of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so-called calamities, so-called enemies, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to swing our swords for the Lord, which brings victory from future birth and death in this material world. Prabhupada goes on. This material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities. Less intelligent persons have no information of the abode of the Lord, which is full of bliss and, Prabhupada says, without a trace of calamity. The duty of the sane person, therefore, is to react to all worldly calamities by swinging the sword of the Lord's holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Well, true, I'm discouraged because I'm under attack. These people have come against me. My health is not good. My child got off course. I'm being bombarded. It's not fair. I'm outnumbered. You're not outnumbered. You and Krishna are a majority. You have the most powerful force in the universe on your side. Don't fall apart. Instead, get your sword. Start swinging. Start praising. Start declaring. Speaking his promises. This too shall pass. What was meant for my harm, I know Krishna is turning to my advantage. What he started in my life, he will finish. Now, the key is, like Kunti, don't be intimidated by the opposition. Don't look at how big and strong your enemies are. Think about how much bigger and stronger your God is. Krishna says, I will give you the victory, but you have to fight for it. I'll restore your marriage. I'll break the addiction. I'll turn your child around if you get your sword out, if you'll not be passive, if you'll start swinging. I read a story of a football player who graduated from college, and the coach asked him if he would like to come on staff and be a scout and try to find other good football players. He said, sure, coach. What kind of a player are you looking for? The coach said, well, there's a kind of a guy that when you knock him down, he just stays down. The player said, we don't want him, do we, coach? The coach said, no, we don't want him. But then there's the kind of guy that when you knock him down, he gets up. But if you knock him down a second time, then he stays down. The man said, we don't want him either, do we, coach? The coach said, nah, we don't want him either. And he says, then there's the kind of guy that when you knock him down, he gets up. You knock him down, he gets up. You knock him down again, he gets up. The man said, now that's the guy we want, right, coach? The coach said, no, we don't want him either. What I want you to find is the guy who's knocking all these other guys down. That's the guy I want. What am I saying? Krishna doesn't want you passive. He wants you aggressive. After all, the best defense is an offense. You initiate the blessings. You initiate the favor. You initiate the healing. How long are you going to wait to go after what Krishna's put in your heart? Well, true, there are giants in front of me. The medical report, this pandemic, this addiction, the economy. I don't have any funds for my dream. I don't have any connections. I'm waiting on Krishna to help me. Well, maybe Krishna's waiting on you to get your sword out. To accomplish your dreams, you have to swing your sword. Krishna, you said because I keep you first place, you will crown my efforts with success. Thank you that my business is taking off. Thank you that my gifts are coming out to the full. Thank you that you are opening doors that no man can shut. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's not just being positive, that's swinging your sword. If you're adrift, unsure of your best path in life, instead of being negative, oh, it's been so long, I don't think it's ever going to come together, try this. Krishna, you said no good thing would you withhold because I walk uprightly. You said you will give me the desires of my heart. Therefore, Lord, I'm going to start thanking you. Thank you for lighting up my path. I know it's only a matter of time before I come into my season. In the meantime, I'm going to have a good attitude. And sometimes we get worn down. We're tired of believing. We tried it once or twice and it didn't work out. And then the next time we have a challenge, we don't even get our sword out. And we get conditioned to it. No. Draw a line in the sand and don't accept defeat. Don't let mediocrity, addictions, dysfunctional become normal to where you think, oh man, just my lot in life. Oh, my family is depressed. My marriage will never be restored. My children will never get back on track. I'll never start that temple. Get your sword out. Start declaring what Krishna says about you. Start expecting his favor. Start thanking him even when there's no sign of it. Start praising him when nothing is turning around. After all, isn't that what faith is all about? Those giants may look big, but they're no match for Krishna. You'll be amazed at what's going to happen once you start swinging your sword. One devotee said, Krishna's word is alive and full of power, sharper than any two-edged swords. His promises coming out of your mouth will part red seas, defeat enemies, break addictions, defeat the sickness, open doors that you never dreamed would open. But with those levels are going to come new devils. There will be opposition, situations you don't understand, things that are not fair, people who should be for you turn against you. You don't win those battles with just skill and strength and outmaneuvering because they're spiritual battles. They're won with the sword of the Spirit. They're won by declaring Krishna's promises, by standing in faith, unwavering, steadfast, and unmoved. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. How long are we going to wait to possess our healing, seize our freedom, capture our peace, our abundance? Start swinging your sword. It's very powerful when you have Krishna's words coming out of your mouth. It is said that Krishna watches over his words to perform them. He's not obligated to bring to pass what we say, but he's obligated to bring to pass what he says. That's why it's important to get into agreement with Krishna. It's important to repeat what he says about you. Not how you feel, not how big the problem is, not how it's never going to work out. Speak victory, speak abundance, speak healing. Right now, you might even be fighting a battle in your own health, finances, or in your relationships. The good news is you have a weapon. Get your weapon out. I'm healthy, I'm whole, I'm strong. I will run and not be weary. I will walk and not faint. If you're struggling in your finances, instead of complaining, I never get any good breaks, I'll always be in need, everybody in my family has struggled, that's just who we are, get your sword out. Lord, you promise that whatever I touch will prosper and succeed. Thank you that my cup will run over, that I will have a bountiful year, that because I fully obey, I walk under blessings, under good breaks, under opportunities, under resources. The right people are chasing me down. Now, even though you may not at present see anything happening, however, as you keep swinging your sword behind the scenes, things are changing. Krishna is lining up the right people, moving out the wrong people. Opportunities are coming, healing, breakthroughs. He watches over his word to perform it. So pay attention to what's coming out of your mouth. Are you speaking of the problem, or are you speaking of the promises? Are you talking to Krishna about how big your problems are, or you're talking to your problems about how big your God is? Wonder how many battles we're not winning because our sword is in the sheath. We have it, but we're not swinging it. We're not activating Krishna's power. We're not activating his favor, his healing. Get your sword out. We're in a battle. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yata Partha Durvaya Tata Sriya Vijobitir Druvanitir Matamama. Krishna has already promised his devotees the victory, but with one little condition. You can't sit back and be passive. I hope it happens. If Krishna wants me to have it, then he'll give it to me. No. He's waiting for you to possess it. If you'll start swinging your sword, then he'll step in and help you accomplish what you could not accomplish on your own. The sons of Kunti had just come from 12 years of exile in the forest. They had been promised their kingdom back, but instead their enemies had amassed a huge army against them and were prepared to fight rather than keep their promise. Yudhisthira, the elder Pandava, seeing the vast power of the superior army headed up by grandfather Bhisma arrayed against them, lost his heart, sank into depression. At that time, Arjuna unsheathed his sword and encouraged his brother by forecasting victory. Evam Rajan Bijani Dhruvo Shmakam Rane Jaya Yata Me Narada Praha Yata Krishnash Tato Jaya. O king, know that our victory in this battle is certain. Where there is Krishna, the master of all mystic powers and friend of his devotees, victory is already there. Now, the war had not yet begun. The combatants had not yet drawn their weapons, and yet we find Arjuna has taken out of its sheath the sword of Krishna's promises and already declared victory over overwhelming odds. Well, true, you say, my children are running with the wrong crowd. I've been praying, but I don't think they'll ever get back on course. Praying's important, but you need to do more than pray. You need to get your sword out. Start declaring what Krishna said. Lord, you said that for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You said my children will be mighty in the land. You said the seed of the righteous is blessed. Lord, thank you that my children will become everything that you created them to be. That's swinging your sword. And every time you do that, it's pushing back the forces of darkness. Every day you need to declare victory, declare purpose, declare destiny. Krishna, thank you that you've raised me up for just such a time as this. Thank you that you've crowned me with favor. Thank you that I will defeat every giant, overcome every obstacle, accomplish every dream. Thank you, Lord, that the greatness that you put in me is coming out. I wonder where you'd be this time next year if you start swinging your sword. Not talking about the problem, but talking about the promise. Not wishing that things would change, but declaring victory, declaring Krishna's favor. Speaking strength when you feel weak. Speaking abundance when you're seeing lack. Speaking new levels when you feel stuck. Yes, we all have obstacles coming against us that are very big, but we serve a bigger God who has given you a sword. The sword he's given you is sharper and more powerful than any force that's trying to stop you. It is said there is a gigantic difference between a spiritual sword and a physical sword. A physical sword cuts living people to make them dead, but the spiritual sword cuts dead people to make them live. There is not a heart so hard that the sword of the Spirit cannot pierce that heart, penetrate that heart, bring that heart to pure love of Krishna. George Whitefield, the great 18th century evangelist, was hounded by a group of detractors who called themselves the Hellfire Club. They mocked him. They laughed at him. They threw tomatoes at him. They went everywhere he went, harassed and heckled him. They derided his work. They made fun of his preaching. It's described that on one occasion, one of their ringleaders, a young man named Thorpe, was mimicking Whitefield, making fun of him. He's actually delivering one of Whitefield's sermons with brilliant caricature, perfectly imitating his tone and his facial expressions. And the whole group was laughing, having a sarcastic time. All of a sudden, strange things happened. This young man, Thorpe, preaching Whitefield's sermon, his lips began to quiver, his eyes started to water, color drained out of his face. His friends didn't know what was going on. They thought he was getting ill. But in reality, he was getting well. All of a sudden, he sat down on the ground and cried out to God and asked the Lord to save him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. The man Thorpe went on to become a prominent Christian preacher in that very same city of Bristol. When repeated even mockingly, the sword of God's words is so sharp, so powerful, and so brilliant that it cuts all the darkness of the heart. And I know, I'm looking at pious, righteous people, I'm looking at people that have been using your swords seriously. You've been faithful, swinging when the depression comes. This knowledge is the king of knowledge, joyfully performed. Swinging in the face of the pandemic. It is I whom the ritual, I the sacrifice, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. Swinging when enemies come against you. He who does good will never become overcome with evil. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I say to you, get ready. Walls are coming down. Your health is about to turn around. That child is about to get back on course. New doors are about to open. The family issue is about to resolve. You're going to discover your gifts. It's going to be unusual, uncommon, something better than you could have ever expected. Krishna has seen your faithfulness. He has heard you bringing his word back to him, not complaining, but speaking the promises. He is about to watch over his word to perform it. Kunti says again, 43rd verse, 8th chapter, 1st canto, Govinda Godvija Sutarti Havatara Yogeshwara Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief amongst the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode. You descend to relieve the distress of the cows, the Brahmins, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. So many times she could have been depressed, she could have been complaining, but Kunti had the habit of swinging her sword, saying, Father, Thank you that you are the Lord, my provider. The economy is not my source. You are my source. Thank you that you're opening the windows of heaven, pouring out more blessings than I can contain. Similarly, when you swing your sword, Krishna gets to work. And he doesn't just bring you out, he will exceed your expectations. The scriptures say he can make rivers in the desert. We're asking you tonight to get your sword out. Complaining doesn't get his attention. Begging doesn't cause him to act. He's concerned about our needs, but he's moved by our faith. Start declaring what he says about your situation. Krishna, thank you that I'm blessed, that I will lend and not borrow. Thank you that you're taking me from glory to glory. Thank you that you've set an end time for this difficulty. Thank you that the enemies I see today, I will see no more. Charu, I'm waiting on Krishna to deliver me, to promote me, to restore me. No, Krishna is waiting on you to swing your sword. When you have his word coming out of your mouth, when you're declaring his promises, then he'll step in and do what you couldn't do on your own. Swing your sword and you'll defeat giants much bigger. Swing your sword and doors will open that you couldn't open. Swing your sword and you'll break that addiction. You'll beat the depression. You'll see dreams come to pass. Krishna has the favor. He has the healing, the abundance. He's just waiting for you to get your sword out. Don't live passive. We're in a battle. Get your fire back. Rekindle your passion. You have to initiate the blessing, initiate the healing, initiate the favor. If you'll start swinging your sword, I believe, like with Kunti, like with Arjuna, Krishna is going to show out in your life. Negative situations are going to turn around. Breakthroughs are coming, healing, promotion, the right people, new levels of your destiny are coming your way in this life, and in the next life, you'll go back to home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Isha.